Hi there, this is Mr. Evans. This video is on variance analysis. So it says here analysing budgets should include variant analysis and adverse and favourable variances. So once we've created our budget, I've done a previous video on budgets, once we've created our budget, variance analysis comes at the end of the budgeting period and is a really important part of being an effective business, to go back and analyse what's actually happened compared to the budget, see how accurate the budget's turned out to be in reality, and then we can either look at our process for creating the budget. Was it a good process in the first place? Or we can look at, holding people accountable. You said you'd be able to generate this much in sales, and actually you've generated less than that. Or you said your costs would be this much, actually your costs will way less. What can we do to make the budget more accurate in the future? A variance occurs where there's a difference between the budgeted figure and the one that is actually achieved. So if we earn more revenue than we thought we would, that would be a variance. So positive variances lead to greater profits than were anticipated. In terms of our revenue budget, that would be when revenues are greater than what we budgeted for. Positive variances are good. In terms of costs, it would be when we spend less than we'd anticipated spending. So it's going to lead to a higher profit. Adverse variances lead to lower profits than were anticipated, so earning less sales revenue than we thought we would, or spending more money exceeding our cost budget. So adverse variances are to be avoided if possible. So probably best to look at this in the context of an exam question. So the question here is calculate the profit variance for the Lincoln branch for December only. Now, this is just an extract from the case study. There's some written work here, but I always encourage students to look for as many calculations as possible. Now, for this question, we only need to calculate the profit variance for December. But if you just take a minute to have a look at this, what we've got is sales revenue along here, then we've got the costs, and our columns are the budget actual variance for 2 months. Now then, when you see a gap like that left, I would very much encourage you to fill it. Now, it's not actually relevant for this question here because it very clearly states that we're looking at December only. But many of the later questions, the evaluation questions, you can use the calculations you make to increase your marks. Okay, one of the later questions in this paper, I believe, was something along the lines of, will the Lincoln branch match the financial performance of the rest of the business? And what you can see there is the trend. If you calculate this, you can see, how they're trending, which is important. So let's have a look at this question then. Hopefully you can see that. So important to start any calculation question with a formula. So the question is asking us to calculate the profit variance for December only. So the first thing that we need to do is work out what the budgeted profit and loss was. What was the profit budget? So that's calculated by working out what the income budget is, income sales revenue, 159.22, minus the expenditure budget. So what was our budget for total costs? So you can see we've got the sales revenue budget there, 159.22, but we're going to need to add these together to get the total costs. Okay, and I've done that calculation down here, and when we take 159.22, the budgeted sales revenue from the total costs. When you add that together, you get 138.65. That leaves us with 20.57 there. And then we could do the same with the actual and then calculate the difference. That's actually the long way of doing it. And in an exam, we've got quite a lot of figures here. You might be a bit anxious in the exam trying to hurry. It would be easy to make a calculation error here. Actually, a far quicker way of doing this is just to look at the variances. So the variances, remember, a favourable variance adds to profit, so it's positive, and adverse variance takes away from profit. So we start off with an adverse revenue budget of 18.37. So we would start with minus 18.37, then add the favourable variances, get a slight adverse variance, another couple of favourable variances, and when you put all that in, you get 6.33, but we've got to remember that this is in thousands. So the 20.57 there would actually be 20,570. And 6.33 becomes 6,333, and that is a favourable variance. So you can do it the long way. I would encourage you to just look at the variances though if you have to calculate, if you get a similar question to this, because it's much quicker and there's less chance of making a calculation error there, and that question is worth 6 marks. The reason I encourage people to put a calculation there is because up to 2 marks are available for the formula or other evidence of understanding of variances. This should only be awarded if the student does not offer calculations or these do not implicitly reveal a understanding of variances. Just having the formula there, okay, it should guarantee you 2 marks as long as it's correct. But even if it isn't correct, it should just keep you on track. Sorry, not even if it isn't correct. Even if you get the rest of the question absolutely right, and all the calculations fine, okay, you get full marks. But having the calculation there does keep you on track, and it only takes a couple of seconds to get written out. So I would encourage you to put that at the top of your answer. Just to finish off on budgeting, so how to construct and analyse budget. So we've kind of looked at that. That's what budget construction looks like. And the value of budgeting, well, I covered this in the previous video, so I won't go through it again, but there's lots of reasons that businesses set budgets. However, there are some difficulties in setting budgets. Overall, the value of setting budgets is they provide a clear target, etc. They're motivational. But often, obviously, they don't take into account unforeseen circumstances. So my evaluation would be, well, budgets are definitely worth having, but it shouldn't be the be-all and end-all. They shouldn't take up all an organisation's time. So that's budgeting and